I was talking over the course of many direct messages. I was talking with one of my dear friends, Seth, and he was telling me. He's been mentioning this film to me many times over the course of many months, but I've just only recently been able to rewatch the film. He has expressed to me how much Seth has been expressing to me how much he loves this film, and he wants me to maybe rewatch the film and reassess it because I've mentioned maybe over the course of say and maybe a comment that I might have made during a live stream here or maybe during a video there over the years, how I saw this film and I didn't necessarily take to it as enthusiastically, shall we say, as maybe Seth and others, but that I might want to try to give it another chance. And that film is the Ridley Scott film, or directed film, which is called Prometheus. I believe it was 2012. And so I'd seen the film Prometheus when it was, I didn't see it in the theaters, but I saw it around the time, shortly after its release. And I must admit, when I saw it, I was lukewarm at best towards the film. I felt it was I was to be honest, I was couldn't help but feel somewhat disappointed by it. And several years or some years later, when the film Alien Covenant was released, I also watched that, not in the theater, but I also caught up with that, and I had a similar feeling of not really taking to that film Alien Covenant as well as I would have otherwise have hoped. And I say that because I really enjoy watching the Alien films over the years. I saw Alien, that film from 1979. I love that film. I saw it as a kid, maybe too young. I should have waited until I was older. But yes, I watched it very, very young, VHS tape, and it scared the living daylights out of me. One of those things where you just put your fingers in your ears and close your eyes, but just peek through a little bit during the scary moments. Just marveling at the design of the thing, based upon a lot of the concepts of H.R. Giger and others. And so at a young age, I learned of the name H.R. Giger. And the performances, I was sort of enthralled by the performances of Alien, and I loved how it had this, almost this it was a horror film. It had certain, say, horror slasher film elements to it. It was also a very elegant film in terms of how the special effects were presented to us in that information, and also how well characterized and how well grounded the characters were. I mean, they didn't feel like two-dimensional characters. They felt like living, breathing people, which I very much appreciate. And that's down to the direction and also the character, the performances. I mean, and across the board, great, right? Yaphet Kotto or Harry Dean Stanton, Verna Cartwright, John Hurt, right, Tom Skerritt, Ian Holm, and Sigourney Weaver, of course, and Jones the cat. So I love Alien, and equally so I love Aliens. Aliens was a film too that I saw very young, and just saw it over and over and over again. Again, initially on that CBS Fox VHS tape, just watched it over and over and over again. I couldn't get enough of this film, and I was enthralled by it. Some points I could follow, but when I was watching it again, would have been like 6 years old, maybe 6, 7 years old, something like that when watching it, or 6, 7, 8 years old, something like that. Not necessarily understanding every point, but still being able to follow along. And then I was fascinated too by I could never, whenever much later there was that TV series, I think it was called Mad About You on US TV with Paul Reiser, right? I think that was it. Whenever I saw I didn't see all the episodes of Mad About You, but I could never shake Burke from my head whenever I saw Paul Reiser. It was that strong an impression for me. Burke. I love this is so nuts. It's what Burke says at a key moment. But and Mad About You, by the way, is with also with Helen Hunt, right? So, but anyway, so yeah, Aliens, and then I remember the excitement when Alien 3 was about to be released. And I heard the news. Oh, they're going to make Alien 3. That's so exciting. One of my mom's friends, we were living in England, I think, at the time. One of my mom's friends was working as a cabin attendant for, I want to say, Virgin Airlines or Virgin Airways, I believe. Or was it British Airways? I forget exactly. Please pardon me for not remembering that detail. But it was a major airline. And so my mom's friend was working as a cabin attendant. And she was telling me how she had spotted Sigourney Weaver as one of the passengers on one of the flights. And Sigourney Weaver had her head shaved. And so this, I can, putting two and two together, this was probably around the time or maybe after she had, the filming of Alien 3. So, and the studio work, which I understand took place in England. So that was always very cool. And so Alien 3 is coming out, and I remember watching the trailer for the first time of Alien 3, and I was, oh my goodness, there was that teaser trailer which suggested that the alien would come to Earth, and that never really happened. For reasons which become clear when you see the making of documentary for Alien 3. But then after that, there's that quick teaser, and then there's the longer teaser with some of the footage from Alien 3, and you'd see this bleak landscape and everyone with their head shaved, and then the famous scene with Ripley on one side and the xenomorph on the other, etc. Oh, it was great. It was great. And then I saw the film, or the theatrical version of the film, and it kind of left me, perplexed. Like, what did I just see? And who am I seeing? It was hard for me to, my young, inexperienced cinema mind was having trouble just to keep myself. Who is this person? Who am I watching? And it was hard to keep track of all the characters for me. But that was a film that I would watch over and over again to try to crack the code, to try to get it more, because I felt like that was on me that I wanted to try to get it, but I couldn't. But then later on, when the so-called assembly cut came available in physical media, watching that and just being totally enthralled by what could have been, and then by then David Fincher's name just became its own sort of industry or sub-industry within the great contemporary cinema voices, that are continuing to be active right now. So, but Alien 3, and then Alien Resurrection. I remember when I was in high school, my physics teacher, who was also a horror science fiction fan, he told me about, they're going to make Alien 4 soon, and he was so excited about it, and as was I. But I must admit, the balloon of excitement was not completely deflated, but somewhat deflated because of my reaction at the time to Alien 3. But that being said, when Alien Resurrection came out, that also perplexed me. It really perplexed me. I didn't quite know what to make of it. I enjoyed many aspects of it, but there are other aspects of it that I just was sitting there thinking, what's going on? What am I meant to feel? Am I meant to feel squeamish, or am I meant to laugh, or what's going on? It was a very surreal experience watching that. And then going to Alien versus Predator, which an Alien versus Predator Requiem, which I tend to. They're not necessarily my absolute favorite films in the context of Alien, but I have fun with them. I really do. They're a fun ride, but they're a certain type of fun ride, which I thought were, of course, related to the world of Alien, which I'd seen in those previous films, but also perhaps in their own distinct world, which I also understood. But that's where I was when I saw Prometheus, and of course that's where everyone was when Prometheus was unleashed upon the world back in 2012 or so. And then, so when I saw Prometheus, I wasn't necessarily hoping for it to be the direct Alien prequel, which maybe deep down I might have been wanting on the one hand, but also dreading on the other. But so it didn't have to be the Alien prequel to end all Alien prequels or anything like that. But I was on the fence about it, or as I said, I was lukewarm about it because of what I perceived to be really odd and strange and maybe quote unquote stupid choices that I thought were being made by a lot of the characters that really affected the plot. In ways that just furthered my own maybe frustration with the film. So, I don't want to go into too many details now about it for the sake of people who haven't seen the film Prometheus. But that's where I was when I had initially seen it. I tried to watch it a number of times upon its release, but I still couldn't get beyond that. But when Seth was mentioning this, and I should say too, our recent conversations about Prometheus are totally independent from what's going on now. It's at the beginning of September 2025, and I understand Alien Earth, this new series, streaming service series, is being broadcast now or being streamed now. It's not quite over in terms of this season, but I haven't seen this new series, Alien Earth, but I'm now very curious about it. But my conversation with Seth is completely independent of that. So we weren't talking about it because of Alien Earth. We were just talking about it, and by coincidence, Alien Earth is also happening at the same time. But anyway, Seth loves Prometheus, and he was telling me, he understands that there might be certain criticisms that could be made about certain plot devices or choices of made by the characters in the film, etc. And he could understand that, but that notwithstanding, it was a great kind of grand experience, a science fiction masterpiece. So, and I trust Seth's judgment very much. He's a very dear friend, a really, really dear friend. So, who's been very, very kind to me, and who has a wonderful cinema-loving spirit. And so I decided to give Prometheus a try one more time. So I decided to give Prometheus a try, and also along the same lines, or in the same token, also watch Alien Covenant. So I went ahead and got Prometheus, and then Alien Covenant, and also I was gifted Alien Romulus, by the way. So I was very fortunate to be able also to see this fairly recently. And I must say that just upon watching or rewatching Alien Covenant and Prometheus again, I was very much taken more positively this time with my watches of the films. At first, I was really taken more positive with Alien Covenant, more so than my initial watch of it many years back. I thought this is actually, I'm enjoying this tremendously. And one of the things I was maybe reacting negatively to at the time was that I was always a fan of how the alien designs were more or less dependent on physical special effects work. I mean, granted, there were some sort of composite imagery or computer-related imagery that we could see at work, in particular Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection, of course, don't get me wrong. But there was also a great deal of makeup effects work, puppetry work done in those films that I thought was really, you could feel that they were in the same room, which I enjoyed. With Alien Covenant, what I was initially reacting maybe negatively towards was the fact that it seemed to be relying, in my eyes, overly so on computer imagery to render the alien effects in that film. But now that I see it, I can definitely override my initial, say, critical reaction in that department for Alien Covenant, because I see the aliens, or the alien creatures that are CGI rendered, they move very quickly, and they move like they scatter around, which I think is they have this almost insect-like quality, which I think, which to my eyes now is rendered quite marvelously, and in that way very frightening. So I like that. And even so, there are still certain, say, makeup effects that are there on the spot. Like there's a scene involving eggs opening up, which you can tell it's there on the spot, which I enjoy. I think they're very, very effective. and we have some key character developments. Much like, I mean, this film Alien Covenant is also like a feature-length version of a Twilight Zone episode, and in that way, it's very, very scary. And I also like how Alien Covenant, you see a little bit of this in Alien 3, and then actually you see a little bit of this in Prometheus too, but they really go into the dangers of cryo sleep in deep space, perhaps much more than we had seen in, say, Alien or Aliens. And it really figures into the plot of Alien Covenant. So I found myself enjoying Alien Covenant much more than I had originally did when I first saw the film. And then going to the earlier film, Prometheus, this is one where this took me a number of watches this time around to feel like I finally could get into the rhythm of it. I did. I did. And I spoke to Seth about this, and I was saying to him about, okay, some things where I thought before some of the characters were making what I thought could have been maybe stupid decisions were now decisions that I could see maybe in context are not completely unbelievable, and in fact they could be considered reasonable. So I am able to then remove that maybe sheen of stupidity that I had perceived. I could remove that, and then once I removed that, it brought me one step closer to sort of the heart of the film Prometheus, and I began to admire it more and more and more. I like how it has a sort of center of gravity to begin with, and then it just goes haywire, because that's the nature of it. I mean, the whole point of it, it's like the quest for answers. And also another way to look at the film, it's a quest to find God. It's kind of like the Star Trek V of the Alien films, but to find God, and that is itself a very center of gravity type of focus on the one hand, but it has the potential, because of the greatness of the theme, it has a potential of going absolutely haywire. It could go in any which way at once, and it does. And that's also, I think, by virtue of the way in which, say, the threat or menace is designed. I mean, the threat or menace, or what the cause of it, or the origins, might be said to, it's this. I mean, it's described sometimes as black goo. It's this black liquid stuff. Maybe on a very microscopic level, things are happening. One of the very famous lines of the film Prometheus is, "What big things have small beginnings." So that itself is suggestive of something that is maybe has a pinpoint structure on the one hand, but is also amorphous on the other, liquid. I mean, it's there, but you can't grasp it. So I love that type of center of gravity start that just goes completely haywire as you progress to the finish, and that suggests a sense of chaos, and what I appreciate that very much, and also how it is so unique. It is a film that could be said to be in the Alien universe, and it definitely is, but it is very different. It doesn't follow the pattern that we might say exists when we see the other Alien films. Not to take anything away from those great films, but it has its own pattern and rhythm, which I admire very much. And then also I was even more taken with the characters that I met here, even the minor characters, or the supporting characters. I was really taken with a lot of their turns. But I think as for many, maybe the show-stopping performance has to go to Michael Fassbender's David here, one of the most complex characters in all of any Alien film, or any Alien adjacent or Alien related film, or any Alien adjacent or Alien related story you're going to see. And that continues on, as you know, in subsequent film, or to a certain with certain twists and turns and a spin on the story. It continues on in a very brilliant way in the film Alien Covenant. But so I was much more taken with this film this time around than before. I was very excited about this. Again, I still see certain points of criticism I can make that that are still tied to how I felt critically when I first saw the film many years back. But those are much more diminished for me now, or they are much more, say, understandable for me now from a certain perspective or certain point of view. So I'm beginning to love this film very much, Prometheus and also Alien Covenant. And then just to complete the picture, I suppose, having watched this recently, Alien Romulus, I'd say I was also very impressed with this. On the one hand, it does feel like it's forging its own story, which I appreciate. It also feels like there's a, and this phrase has been used as well, which I kind of agree with. It has a kind of greatest hits aspect to it. There's a little bit of there's a specific part of that film that also harkens back to Alien, a certain character that appears. There's also there's bits of Aliens. There's some callbacks to Aliens. There's some callbacks to Alien, Alien Resurrection. There's a big callback to Alien Resurrection in that. And in fact, there's some neat ties that one can say to Prometheus, and also by extension to Alien Covenant. So I like it. It has a kind of comprehensive feel to it, but it's also forging its own story in certain unique ways. I like the relationship. I like the way in which the android characters. The substance is being handled in this story. Really creative, really well done. I like the main characters very much. I like the alien designs and sort of modes of evolution and things that we hadn't necessarily considered or seen in, say, the film stories of the Alien films. So I enjoyed those aspects very much. There's one thing that I'm still kind of meh on, which involves a character that I know is meant to be harkening back to a key character that we saw in the film Alien. And there's a little bit of special effects work that's done in order to create the performance of this character in this film. I'm kind of lukewarm about that part, but maybe that's something I can try to re-engage with as the years go by, and I watch this film over and over again. But Alien Romulus, there you go. So Seth, you've gotten me in the alien frame of mind. So thank you very much for this. And again, totally coincidental, not in any way directly related to the excitement and attention that's been given to this new series called Alien Earth. But I'm very curious. I know someone else. I had a live stream, and then speaking to people who were on the live stream, and the Alien Earth did come up. So, and it came recommended. So I decided to reinstate my Disney Plus subscription. So I did that earlier today, and I haven't started Alien Earth yet, but I'll try to start it this weekend. I might have some time to watch maybe some of the episodes. So I'll try to catch up with that. But I just want to say thank you very much, Seth, for sort of reinvigorating, or not reinvigorating, but sort of encouraging my re-examination of the films, in particular Prometheus and Alien Covenant. And so I'm very much taken with the films now, much more than I had felt when I initially watched the films. But I'm still very much a huge fan of Alien and Aliens in particular. I might, maybe one of these days, I was speaking about Patreon, and I do fan commentary tracks. I just watch the movie and then I just record my comments as I watch the movie in audio tracks. And so I might want to do the fan commentary track very soon about Alien. As I said, I've seen this film so many times. I just think that could be in many ways. I mean, I don't know if a perfect movie exists, but that could be a contender for being one of the perfect movies. Just the construction and design, it's impeccable. And it's so weird in a lot of places. I love that. I love the weirdness of it. I love it. But in any event, so I might try to do Alien. I'm not an expert. I'm not a critic or reviewer or expert or historian or anything when it comes to the film Alien. Just talking about it talking about it as a fan of the film. But I might try to put my 2 cents in there with regard to Alien and maybe some of the other films, as well as other commentary. There are other commentary tracks that I've done on the Patreon page, by the way. Sorry for the shameless self-promotion there, but you can check it out on my Patreon page. But yeah, I'll consider trying to do an Alien commentary track, hopefully as soon as possible. As I say, I love that film. And then thanks to Seth and others, but thanks to Seth for reinvigorating my love for that film, or reminding me how much I love that film, and also for allowing me to be inspired to sort of rewatch these films and just really identify what it is, which I think now I understand or can be considered really great about these films that I wasn't able to see otherwise. So thank you so much. That's what I mean when I say this YouTube channel is so valuable to me, because among other things, it allows me to meet you and to learn from you, but also I can get inspired by you and try to look at things from a different perspective. I'm just one guy. I don't have I don't have the best sense of cinema. I don't watch everything. I don't have I can't understand everything, and so a lot of the times my own cinema watching, could be said to be missing the mark. But I therefore rely on your, first of all, it's great to know you and to get to meet you through this venue, but also, in addition, I get to be inspired by you and learn from you, and maybe try to look at a film that I might not have given enough credit, but look at it through a different perspective. Through fresh vigor, and also through your enthusiasm, and try to discover it for myself, which I'm again, if I have those opportunities made available to me, I consider myself very, very grateful and very lucky indeed. I consider myself very lucky indeed. So therefore, I feel very grateful. So thank you very much to Seth, and to the rest of you who are always continuing to be my cinema teachers. You are my film teachers. Film professors, film profs. So thank you so much to you, my dear friends, for continuing that. So whenever you hear me talking about maybe a film I was kind of meh on, or maybe I didn't quite get, and you're a big fan of it, you can always leave a comment or drop me a line, direct message or whatever, and maybe we can have a conversation about that. And I'd like to try to learn a bit more of based upon your enthusiasm. But today, or these past few days, have been with regard to Prometheus and then Alien Covenant. So thank you very much, Seth. I really appreciate it. Thank you.